Live from the Pines, episode 75. Tonight, we welcome special guest, Coach Joe Cluley, Mount Pleasant High School, athletic director, head football coach. How are you doing, sir?
I'm doing good. Appreciate you having me on, man.
Oh, man, when Matt Stepp told me there was one guy I had to go get, and he said it was Joe Cluley, I had to go make it happen, man. I think I texted you right after the show.
That's right. No pressure to perform. I hope I hope I don't give Matt a bad name on this deal.
Oh, man, I think it's going to be a great show. But one thing I want to say before we start, high school football season is right around the corner. College football season will be here before we know it. But, you know, August 29th for a lot of teams will be here before they know it.
Yep.
I think, you know, the biggest thing, Trey, go Tigers. Trey's actually a co-host on the show with me. His family's from Mount Pleasant.
Oh, wow. Here we go. That's what I'm talking about.
I believe it's Mount Pleasant. I'm pretty sure it is. But, Coach Cluley, what's it looking like in Mount Pleasant? You know, we're right around the corner from the season, you know, getting everything going, getting kids and workouts, making sure everybody's there, beating the heat, getting ready to strap pads on in a few weeks, and, you know, let's get the ball rolling.
Yeah, you know, it's been a really exciting time, like even just since our offseason started. You know, we had a really young team last year, and we're bringing back a whole bunch of guys with a lot of experience. And so we feel like we have a really good football team. And, of course, you know, it's one of those deals you got to go out there and get better each and every day and get better in each and every summer. We've had great summer attendance. Our kids have really bought into doing the little things right. And this senior group has kind of been the catalyst to that. And so our senior group is not a large group, but it's an extremely talented group. In fact, 4 of them as juniors were captains on our football team. So they got a lot of leadership, a lot of talent. I feel like it's a group that can take us to where we want to go.
So you say the word captain. This is something I've been wanting to ask a lot of people for a while because, you know, I never got the chance to be the captain on the football team. I didn't play football. Right. But I want to ask you this. When you're going through and you're like, you know, looking like this kid's been here every day, he works hard, he's vocal, you know, he's a leader. What are you looking for when you name a captain?
So we do it a little bit different than some people. So I'm big in like coach fed, player led, and we want our players to, because in the end, no matter what happens, our coaches cannot walk out on that field during the game and say, this is what you have to do and this is how you have to do it. And so we want our kids to choose our captains. And so now, do we have zero say in it? Of course not. Our coaches obviously look at what the votes are like, but we'll go through all off season. We'll go through summer workouts, and then we'll go through a little part of 2-a-days, and our kids will vote. And it could be 2 captains, it could be 4, it could be 5. We kind of look at where the break is in our voting and where a big discrepancy is, and we say, okay, these are our guys. And then we go through our preseason schedule, so our 4 games this year, and then we re-vote for captains. So just because you get voted one in August doesn't mean you're going to get re-voted it in October. And that's because we want to make sure that the guys we chose are the guys that need to be that way. And those guys also know that just because I got voted in doesn't mean I can't get voted out. I got to keep being that same guy that I've been since the start of off season. And so the captain thing is a really big deal. We do a captain's meal. My wife cooks all of our captains dinner every single week. And they come to my house, and we just talk about the football team, and we talk about life, and we talk about those types of things, and try and get a feel for the team, because the kids are always going to know your team better than you. No matter how intuitive you are, no matter how in you are with it, those kids know things that you don't, and that gives our captains an opportunity to be like, hey, coach, I feel like we're struggling here, we're struggling there, and I feel like it gives me a good beat on kind of what our team needs going forward.
Well, that's great, and I'm sure your kids appreciate getting to have a say in that, because like you say, the kids do know the team the best. No matter how much you're around them, you don't hear all the things they have to say, all the group chats.
Right.
You know, for all you know, Coach Cluley, you might be the main topic of the group chat.
I'm sure I have been at times. There is no doubt about that. Yes.
That's great. Hey, you know, before we get any deeper, talk a little bit about your journey. You know, what got you started in the coaching world? Where did it all start at? Where did Joe Cluley start at?
Yeah, absolutely. So I always go back to this. My dad was a high school football coach and an athletic director. And so my dad also named Joe Cluley. So growing up, I was born in Mineral Wells, Texas. He was in 1984. He was the head coach at Mineral Wells. He transitioned from there to Mount Pleasant. So my dad was the head football coach and athletic director at Mount Pleasant High School back in the late 80s. And so, when kids come to me and they say, Coach, I just don't know what to do with my future and stuff like that, I kind of have to be honest with them, like, fellas, like, I never had that problem, because from the day I can remember, all I wanted to do was coach high school football. Like, that was my goal. That was my deal. I wanted to be a head football coach. And so that was kind of what I geared everything I did towards. And so I ended up graduating from Sam Houston State in Huntsville, and was a student assistant there. So I helped the football team there. My dad was a coach at Sam Houston State back in the early 80s. So there's like still some connections there. From there, I moved to Austin, got married. I was at a little school on the north side of Lake Travis called Lago Vista. Spent 4 fantastic years there. Went from a team that they didn't start football until like 2000. And in fact, I sat in a very prominent coach's office before I took that job, and he cautioned me against taking it because they had been so bad for so long. And my 4th year there, we ended up going to the state semifinals, and had a fantastic deal. And then I go from there. I was a defensive line coach. Go from there to Wichita Falls High School, which is crazy, like no longer exists anymore. But my dad went from Mount Pleasant to Wichita Falls High School as the head football coach. And so I went to Wichita Falls, where kind of all my dad's family is, my parents were. I spent 5 great years there. We ended up going to the quarterfinals and get beaten by Aledo the year they got charged with bullying, and won the state championship. And then from that spot, went to Lubbock with Marcus Shavers, who's the head coach and athletic coordinator at North Forney, and went to Lubbock Estacado. Spent 2 years there as the DC with Marcus, and then became the head coach there for 4 years. And so had a fantastic run there. Great kids, loved it. And then got this opportunity out here in Mount Pleasant to be a head football coach and athletic director, and jumped at it. And so that's kind of been my transition through all my years.
Well, you've been around the block a time or two, it sounds like, and you had experience at the college level all the way to the high school level. Yep. And you've accomplished a lot in your career. So that's always great, especially, Mount Pleasant is a football town.
Right. Yes.
And you over there trying to do the things you're trying to do, change the culture, change the program from somebody that's seen it from the insides out. Your dad was the head coach there. Right. You got to spend a lot of time there as a kid around the program. So you're not a stranger to the program.
No.
What is that like coming back now and, letting these kids know that I want to be here? I was a part here when my dad built this. And I want to be here to help, build it again. Let's go win.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So it's been awesome. Our superintendent and all of our upper level admin have just been so supportive. And I'm serious when I say I don't know that I've been told no on anything that we want to do and how we want to do it. And they've just been so super supportive. And it's definitely a unique thing to go to where a place where your dad was. And one of the really cool things about it is like all the old players that played for my dad, some of them have kids or grandkids on the football team now. And so there's just so many connections. Up on my walls in my office are the newspaper clippings of when my dad was at Mount Pleasant. And so it's a very, I think, unique thing that I grew up, spent time, I wouldn't say I grew up, but spent 4 years in Mount Pleasant, is going to all the games and on the sidelines and all that, getting passed around the bleachers when I was a baby. And my mom talks about that all the time. And now get to go back and the kids are just so fantastic here. Our kids are just great kids. They're just good people. And, it's really been a blessing to be around them and to be around our community. And there's just so much support. And so it is a unique thing to be able to come back and to a place that you've been at. But it's been awesome all the way around.
That's great. What's the culture like in Mount Pleasant? Like, what are we, what's the message? What are we trying to build? Like, what are the standards like in the locker room, on the field? Yeah. What are we doing?
Absolutely. So, if you ever follow anything on social media with me or most of our coaches and stuff like that, everything we use is like #family, and started that in Lubbock Estacado, and people use it all over and whatever. But for me, it's just about like The standard's a standard. And just like the same thing is when you go to your household and you're sitting at the dinner table with your mom, and how you speak and how you talk, and like that family standard is always there. And it's the same thing when you're in our field house, or you're out on our football field or whatever. And that standard is like, you're doing it because of not only the love you have for football, that's great, but more so for the love you have for your teammates and your coaches, and making sure that you're giving everything you have in a selfless way and not a selfish way. In today's world, that's hard to preach because of the NIL and all that, and everybody's about themselves, and everyone's about me and mine and what am I going to get. And so I feel like that message is very, very important, not only for us to be successful, but for our kids to understand, that it's bigger than them. I recently had a kid that graduated that played for me my first year, that came back and sat in my office and thanked me for kind of instilling that in him. And he didn't really see it until he really kind of got out of high school and graduated and started going like, holy cow, coach, like, I don't think I would be where I am now if I hadn't heard that message from you. And it's like it just clicked. And so, you plant that mustard seed and you hope that it grows while they're sitting there in front of you. Sometimes it does, and sometimes it doesn't. But it's there. And so I feel like the family atmosphere that we create is that our kids can come and talk to us about anything. And there's not a gotcha. Our kids we pick kids up, we take kids home, we do all the things that, I think a lot of Texas high school football coaches do in terms of that. But there's never a time like, my phone's on 24/7, 365. Like, call me. What do you need? How do you need it? And I feel like I have a coaching staff that is like that as well. And so our coaches, and when there's an issue with a kid or something, you get on that group text and let them know, hey, this is what's going on with him. Let's pray for him. Let's figure out how to do it. Does he need money, to whatever it is, and let's make sure we're taking care of our kids. And I think that family atmosphere gives kids an opportunity to grow spiritually, mentally, physically, the whole way, and become better people, better husbands, better fathers, better citizens. Which in the end, and I know everyone, we all want to win every game, but in the end, that's what we're here for. We're here to make kids and young men better people, so that when they leave our program, they contribute to society in a positive way. And so in the end, I feel like that's what our hashtag family is about. And I feel that's what our standard is.
It's bigger than football.
Always.
So you talk about all those great things, and what y'all are doing is great. And I think a lot of people don't realize what Texas high school football coaches go through, from feeding kids, picking kids up, staying late with kids, being a mentor, being dad sometimes, doing all those extra things that, those kids might not have at home. They might not get the same opportunity when they leave the school. They might can't go to somebody and be like, talk to them at that level. Yep. So, people forget that being coach is just not just being coach. It's being dad sometimes. It's being the friend sometimes, just to sit there and listen, because these guys are with you more than you're probably with your family.
Absolutely. Yes.
So you know everything about this kid. If such and such comes to practice and he's not running his mouth and talking, something's up with this kid. You spent so much time with him.
You are exactly right about that. And you mentioned something that we talked to our staff about, or I talked to my staff about in the beginning of the year, is that we have to be whatever this kid needs. And day to day, you don't know what that's going to be. It might be dad, it might be mom, it might be a friend, it might be brother, it might be whooping your butt. It might be whatever they need. We have to be able to morph into as coaches to be able to help that individual kid. Not every kid can be coached the same way. Not every kid can be talked to the same way. Not every kid, there's no blanket thing that works for every kid. And so you have to know your players well enough to know that, are they like, I had a talk with one of the leaders of our football team today, and we talked about, how do kids respond to different types of leadership. And some kids respond to the arm around them and the, dude, we got to have you. We need you. And some kids respond to, that's not good enough. That's not our standard. You're failing. Like, every kid has a different pressure point that makes them go. And they all have a different pressure point also, that is, they shut down. And we don't want to go to the shutdown one. We want to hit that pressure point that's like, man, I got y'all. Let's do this. We try to approach everything from a positive standpoint. Of course, it's life that doesn't always work like that. But we actually polled our off-season kids this year, as the first time I've ever done it, and asked them, are you okay with negative reinforcement, positive reinforcement? Do you not care? Like, what do you respond to? And 91% of our kids respond to positive reinforcement. That doesn't mean that's what it can always be, but it means that you should be saying positive things way more than you're saying negative things, because that's what our team responds to. And so it's all those things, like you said, and we're not like unique. This is what Texas high school football coaches do. It is what we do. I spend way more time with these kids and our coaches than I do my own family. And I'm very blessed to have a wife that is the greatest coach's wife in the world. And she takes care. Our coaches' wives, starting at coaching school, become single moms. And unfortunately, I hope they're single moms until late December, because that means we're playing for a state championship. So, but like, my wife's going to take care of all the practices. She's going to take care of all the getting the girls to the game. She could take care of all that stuff. It's a blessing to have somebody like that beside you. But I also think, and something that we talk about, is it takes someone like that beside you to be successful, because you can't invest what you should in kids if you're coming home to something that is negative. And so I think the positive reinforcement, like you said, being the brother or the dad or the friend or the uncle or coach or whatever you have to be, you got to be able to do that day in and day out, because like you said, you're exactly right. Those kids show up to practice, and not every kid has had a great day. Not every kid has had a meal. And you got to be able to figure out what's going on, and why it's, one of the reasons I keep a bunch of snacks in my office. Kid comes in, coach, I hadn't eaten, boom, here you go, and so I think that, going to some recent events, I look at the Teddy Bridgewater stuff and what's going on with him.
It's crazy.
And it's crazy. And like, to me, I'm like, man, what a dude to do that for a bunch of kids. Like, what a great person. I don't know anything about Teddy Bridgewater other than he was a great football player. But that told me that dude is probably a heck of a football coach and truly cares about kids, because you're not spending that type of money, no matter how much money you have. You're not spending that type of money on kids unless you truly care. And so it's those things that I think Texas high school football coaches are fantastic at.
Every good coach I've talked to have said a lot of things that you've said. And the thing that sticks out to me the most, that coaches talk about success and like playing in December, playing for a state championship. Mm-hmm. It's not about them. It's not about their staffs. Administration. Yep. Administration is huge. If you want to win, you have to have a supportive administration that's willing to let you do what you need to do. Somebody that's not standing there over you all the time, trying to be coach, be principal, be superintendent, do all those things. Let me be coach. Give me the resources I need to win, and I will make something happen.
Yeah, there's no doubt. And it's sometimes when you don't have good administration, if you've never had good, you don't realize what a detriment it is and how positive it is when you have it. I've been very lucky in Lubbock and here in Mount Pleasant. I've had good administration. But I'll say this, our Mount Pleasant administration is absolutely phenomenal. And it truly starts with our superintendent. And I know everybody probably gets on here and no one's going to badmouth their soup or anything like that. But like, I'm telling you, our superintendent is one of a kind. Like, that dude loves sports. He loves, I'll say, extracurriculars, not just sports, but he loves kids being involved in extracurriculars. And he is always trying to figure out a way to make sure that we have everything we need. And, sometimes you go to him and you're asking for, man, we need this, this, and this, and it's going to cost money and we don't have it athletically. And I'm telling you, dude, he has rarely, I really can't remember a time, honestly. I'm just assuming there is one where he's told me, hey, Blue, we can't do that, man. Like, we just can't. He is going to figure out a way to make sure our kids and coaches have what you need. And I think a big part of that is when you feel appreciated for what you're doing, whether that's as a player or a coach, you work harder. And when you don't feel appreciated, whether you mean to or not, you just don't work as hard because the appreciation from the people above you is not there. And our superintendent's son played for us for the last 4 years, and great, fantastic kid. And, that could have come with some potential issues if he wasn't about what he's about. And His son's junior year, his son wasn't a starter for us. And again, that could have been a whole issue of why isn't my son starting? I'm the superintendent. And he never once.
Trust me, it happens every day.
Right. I mean, it's, and so he is just, and his son's senior year, he started for us every game. Like, he was a really good player for us. But it was just one of those things that I've never been around a guy that wants to have kids be a chance to give kids a chance to be successful more than our superintendent, Judd Marshall. And then that, of course, trickles down to your principals, that trickles down to your, upper level admin and HR and that type of things. And, at Mount Pleasant, they do a great job of making sure that we have what we need.
That's great. And you got a great superintendent, it sounds like.
A great one.
I think we got a really good one here in Lufkin also.
You probably do. I don't know who it is, but my guess is you do.
Dr. Hockenberry, we've been nothing but pleased with him. He's new. He's been here for a little over a year.
Yeah.
But he's been nothing but great.
Yep.
And we appreciate him. And I'm sure in Mount Pleasant, the community, the coaches, everybody appreciates.
Yep. Well, our Mr. Marshall was a coach. Marshall. Yeah, he was a coach at Mount Pleasant before
that goes a long way. When somebody knows what it takes.
Yeah,
he knows the insides and outs.
Early 2000s, he coached a bunch of these guys and girls. He was a very successful girls basketball coach. He was a baseball coach, transitioned to the girls side, became girls coordinator, became assistant principal, became assistant soup, and then
worked his way up that ladder.
Yeah, 12 years ago, and he's been the superintendent for the last 12 years, and the dude is unbelievable.
And something I want to talk about that you just mentioned is, he could have easily turned his back on you when you didn't start his son his junior year.
Yeah.
And I think parents as a whole, because we have these problems everywhere. We hear about them everywhere. Sometimes your kid's opportunity is not his freshman, sophomore, junior year.
Right.
It's that senior year. Everybody has a role, and I believe in this. And I heard a coach personally tell me something. He had a quarterback that played for him.
Yep.
He played on the freshman team, played JV football 2 years, and the kid never stopped working.
Yep.
And his time came his senior year, and he was developed. He was bigger, faster.
Yep.
He was just more ready. And I think parents fail to realize just because your kid is a stud at 13, doesn't mean he's a stud at 15 and 16. Because I tell you one thing, the way kids are going nowadays, kids are not hitting that spurt until that junior, senior year.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you see it last year with the kid at North Crowley.
Yes.
You could have asked anybody in the state who this kid was a year ago.
That kid,
he's Gatorade Player of the Year.
Yeah, unbelievable.
And it's like, look what he did in one season.
Absolutely. No, there's definitely credit. And I think those kids especially are going to be super successful in life because, so much of the world is instant gratification. And,
transfer.
Absolutely. I'm going to find where I got to go and da-da-da-da. And the guys that grind it out and stick it out and those are the ones that are really fun to watch have success. It's fun to watch them all have success. And the kid that's a freshman that can start on the varsity, I want him to have as much success as the other kid. But there's something special about that kid that is a junior on JV or a way back up on varsity as a junior and works his tail off and becomes either a starter or a big contributor or whatever as a senior. I think there's something special about those kids and something they have inside that, you wish all kids had inside. And that's just not the case.
Yeah. And it's all sports though. You see it every day. And, like you say, it starts with the administration, the coaches and all the kids and all that, but parents play a big part in it too.
Yes.
Negative parents do not benefit anything. If you're going home and you're saying, well, coach such and such is this, and that at the dinner table, Charlie's hearing it. So when Charlie comes back to practice, he doesn't respect you anymore because mom and dad don't respect you.
They don't. I think what happens with parents is they don't understand the negative impact they have on their kid when they're doing that and not only it impacts the, hey, I'm going to do what coach is asking me to do. It impacts the, how hard do I work? Because am I really going to work hard for somebody that I no longer respect? I mean, it goes back to the whole deal of good admin versus bad admin and feeling appreciated and not feeling appreciated. You're not going to work as hard for somebody you think either doesn't appreciate you or has a vendetta against you or whatever it is, which, in my experience, has never happened. I've never been in a coaching staff in 19 years that have ever sat around and said, well, this kid can help us win, but we're not going to play him. I've never had that conversation because we're all trying to win football games. Or baseball games or basketball games or whatever it is. And so I think what parents don't get is that negative part when it seeps into those kids' minds. They quit working as hard, and then they're not going to get what they really could get because the work isn't being put in like it used to be.
That's great. Coach Cluley, how much time is it? How important is it for you and your staff to spend time at the middle school, the youth football leagues, the youth sport leagues?
Yeah, that's huge. So when I first got to Mount Pleasant, they did not have youth football. It had moved to a smaller town elsewhere, and there wasn't like a Mount Pleasant league. And we obviously changed that very, very quickly, got a league going, and it's gotten better and better over the last 4 years. And, they now play all the league games at our home field and all those things. So we can, on a Saturday, you can walk outside and go dap up every single little league coach and kid. We've got a fantastic guy that runs our little league. Our little league football team has #family going down their pants. Like it's the buy-in from all the way down. And then I'm sure everyone says this, but I truly believe this. Like, your most important coaches are your junior high coaches, because they are bridging the gap. And, something that we always talk about is like, we want 7th graders to become 8th graders and 8th graders to become 9th graders so that we can get our hands on them. And so we actually, to your point, it's important enough that we actually moved athletic periods around this year at our junior high, because we felt like we could get more time with our junior high kids from our varsity coaches and our coordinators and myself than what we were getting based off where they were in the previous years. And so it's extremely important. You want those kids to recognize you. You want those kids to be around you. There's no way you're going to be around them as much as you are your varsity, JV, and freshman kids, because they're not at the high school. But you want those kids to say, whether it's me or another coach on my staff, I want to go play for that guy. Like, that's my guy, and especially in a place like Mount Pleasant and a lot of East Texas places where it's a smaller town, like a lot of those kids are the brothers, and if it's a different sport, the sisters or the cousins of the kids you are currently coaching. And so, they've probably heard good things about you, but you want to go down there and put a face to a name for them so that they can see you and be like, hey, Coach Clue, what's going on? And they see you in the hallway and know who you are, and you know who they are. And you're not just saying like, oh, you're number 75 or whatever it is. It's a vitally important thing. And I would go as far as to say also like the freshmen, because our freshmen practice separate from us. Getting around those freshman cats and making sure you're building those relationships. And that's what kind of comes all the way up and through, your varsity. But you want to get and I'll go even a step further than that, like our pre-athletics program, like our 6th graders in pre-athletics, we want to get to know them too. And so it's vitally important to your program if you want to sustain something and not just have a 1 year where you're good and then you go back to not being as successful or whatever it is.
And I think I'm trying to get our show public on Facebook. If for some reason it's not public anymore, but I don't know what's going on. But, a lot of coaches don't want to put that time in. They're right. Like, we'll get them as 9th graders, and, we know such and such is he's going to be good, and we know such and such is going to be good, but it's a development thing. If I can take a kid in the 7th grade that I know is going to play offensive line, for instance, right, and I can show him the same blocking scheme the correct way from the 7th grade to the 9th grade, by the time he's in the 10th grade, he's going to be ready to play varsity football. If everything goes right. Yeah, and it goes to making the calls, the checks, all those little things go into everything. It's like those are the small things that get overlooked. Yeah. If this kid is making a bingo call or whatever you call it, in 7th, 8th grade, when I get him to the high school and he sees what's lined up in front of him and he makes the correct call, it's not nothing new to him. I don't have to worry about coach on the sidelines screaming it out for him.
Yes, absolutely. You're 100% right on that. That's like, one of the things that we talk about with our junior high staff, and we got a great junior high coordinator, is like, let's get our 7th and 8th graders to know the basics of our offense and defense, our basic checks, our basic things. Because if we can get them as 9th graders and they know that stuff, and then we can start really delving into the deeper parts of football, then just like you said, as a 10th grader or they're up or an 11th grader, they now have an understanding of exactly what the expectations are and when I get a 3-man front versus a 4-man front, or a 2-eye versus a 3, or a 4 versus a 5, whatever it is, I know based on the play call, this is what I should be doing. And offensive line, I mean, that's a perfect one to bring up, because to me, that's the hardest position in football to play, because it's 5 guys playing as one. And you got to all be on the same page. And the minute you're not, it makes everybody look like you've never been coached in your life. And so that's the hardest one to do it at. And so, yeah, you're absolutely right. Like, you want those kids to come up through calling it the same way, doing it the same way. And then your basic like drills, one of the things, like, as we get into our coaches meetings this next couple of weeks, we'll take our junior high staff, we'll go outside, and we will take them through the EDDs, or everyday drills, of what we do at every single position. So every single defensive position and every single offensive position, and say, hey, this is what we want it to look like. And then what we'll do is that, like, we'll put after school practice, half our staff will go to the junior high practice, half our staff will stay for the freshman practice, because we'll practice varsity in the mornings, and we'll be able to see it in action, and then be able to coach coaches, and I think that's also a way you grow your coaches, is they're getting an opportunity now. Like, I spend a lot of time coaching coaches. Like, that's as an athletic director, that's what you do. You're coaching your coaches that are then going to coach kids. And so our coaches now that want to take those next steps and be coordinators or ADs or head football coaches, whatever it is, they're getting an opportunity to go down to the junior high and coach coaches and say, hey, coach, I think that you could do this a better way. Or, hey, coach, remember when we talked about this a couple of weeks ago, this is the way we wanted to set up. And so I think it grows everybody, but most importantly, it grows our kids.
That's great. Coach Cluley, so you've been at Mount Pleasant for 3 years, right?
Yeah, going into year 4.
You're going into year 4.
Yes,
what can you say that you've changed the identity or anything? What have you changed in that mindset in Mount Pleasant in the last 4 seasons?
I think the biggest thing that like changed for us was getting to kids that had not played football or had got their mindset on, I'm a basketball player or I'm a baseball player, and I may play everything in junior high, but then I'm going to selectively choose where I want to be. And I think a big part of that was just going out and getting like in the junior high and in our intermediate school, our 5th and 6th graders, and getting around them and building those relationships. There's nothing more important in any sport than relationships, and getting more kids out than they've had in a lot of years. And we don't have, a ton of kids for a 5A program. When I got here, there were about 90 total kids from 9th grade to 12th grade, which you're at Lufkin, you know how many kids are in the Lufkin program. That 90 kids is incredibly small. And we're up to about 150 or 160 that we have in the program now over 4 years. But again, that's all back to relationships. And I'll say this, like, that has some to do with me, but it has an even bigger part to do with my staff, because, as the athletic director, when it's spring, I'm dealing with so many other things. I'm counting on my coaches to be able to go and build those, and they are. And, I've got kids that are coming that want to play football because my OC or my DC have built that relationship, and maybe they don't know me as well, but they know my OC and DC, and they love them, and they want to play for them. And then that gives me the opportunity to build a relationship with them. And so that's such a huge part of the relationship. But I feel like that's the thing we've done better than anything, and I think it's what we did at Estacado as well, is we're going to build relationships with kids. We're going to make sure kids know that we're there for them and that they want to play for us, not because we're the best coaches of all time, but because we build real relationships.
That's great. So you being an AD and a head football coach, how do you handle, like, such and such plays basketball, but he wants to play football too. He plays baseball, but he plays football too. How do you handle that? Because, it's something that's coming up new around, my show we've been talking about lately. And I just been asking a lot of coaches, how do they handle these situations? Because you're not going to always have a positive outcome on that.
Right. No, I'm a big believer in what is the sport you're currently in, and that's the one that's going to take precedence. So if we're in football season, we're not going to go play basketball showcase or baseball showcase, and vice versa. Like, if you get in basketball and baseball season, that runs into like football 7-on-7 stuff. We're not going to go play 7-on-7 during the middle of baseball season. Now, where we and I'm very, very blessed. We have between my baseball coach, my basketball coach, and myself, we have a great relationship. And so they're actually both huge football fans. And so they want their kids playing football, which, like I said, I've been at places where it's not like that, where, a coach doesn't want their kids playing football if they're another sport. But they do a fantastic job of making sure not only they're preaching like the whole, hey, fellas, we got to work hard. We got to stay in the weight room. Like I know that's always a big thing when you're a football coach and your kids go to basketball, and are they just going to be out of the weight room for 3 months? And not in Mount Pleasant. Our basketball coach is a stickler at the weight room, just like our football coaches are, and our baseball coach is a fantastic weight room guy. So no matter what, even if you play all 3 sports, you're not going to be missing out on. You'll miss out on some off-season stuff in terms of running through poles and doing gassers and stuff like that, but you're going into the weight room and doing those things the right way. And so it's made it very easy for me to feel like no matter where our kids are, they're getting work put in. And so if you didn't have that, and there's been some times where as an AD, I've been very blessed with that, but I've been at when I was a coordinator, had some coaches at some other schools that were like that. I mean, it could become extremely difficult because eventually it hurts the kid. And in the end, I think that's the one thing we sit down and we talk about is what is best for the kid. And in the end, nothing else matters. It just doesn't. And there's been times where I had our head basketball coach's oldest son played for us, really good receiver for us my first year. He's an unbelievable basketball player. That's what he was going to do. He had collegiate offers. There was a showcase that came up in the middle of our season on a Saturday, and his name's Peyton. And Peyton came to me, and he sat down in my office, and he looked me in the eye. He said, "Coach, I won't do it unless you say it's okay." And I know that's where he was a starting receiver for us. But I know, again, what's best for this kid. Is it best for him to come in on a Saturday and watch film, or is it best for him to, where he was going to go play college, get an opportunity to go out and showcase himself? And that was what it was. And so I told him, I was like, Peyton, if you want to go, dude. Be careful, please, but go and play and earn your offers and all that. And we're going to go from there. And vice versa. Our same basketball coach, a couple of years later, we had a kid that was going on a football visit, and he was going to miss a district basketball game. He wasn't going to be a collegiate basketball player. And Coach Chisholm, we sat down and we talked about it. He's like, you know what, Coach? This is what's best for this kid. What's best for this kid is to have the opportunity to go see this college, because that's a place that is going to pay for his education. As much as I don't want to lose him for a district basketball game, this is what's important. And so I think trusting your coaches and building trust with your coaches as an athletic director. Again, it goes back to real relationships. I feel like my baseball coach and my basketball coach, and then my soccer coaches and my girls' side coaches, I think that we have created a system where they can come in and feel very good about talking to me about their problems and their issues, and know that I'm going to do what's best as possible for that kid. May not be what they feel like is best, but I'm going to make the best decision possible for that kid that I think in that moment is the best decision.
That's the thing. That's how it should be.
Yes, I agree.
What bothers me the most about that situation is there's so many kids in different towns that you see on the basketball court. And it's hard to translate that from baseball to football, but from basketball to football, I can say this. There's so many kids you see on the basketball court, and you're like, why don't you play football?
Yep.
Because I'm a hooper.
Yep.
So where are you going to play college basketball? Oh, I don't know yet. It's your senior year.
Right.
You take that size and that athleticism, and you just halfway play a position on the football field.
Yep.
I can find you somewhere to go to college for free.
There is no doubt about that. It's funny you say that, because me and my basketball coach talk about that a lot, because we've got a couple of kids on the basketball team who I wish played football. I do. And it's not for lack of trying. Me and my head basketball coach, Coach Chisholm, have sat in the office and talked to those kids about playing football, because it's about not limiting your opportunities. And some kids, it's just not for them. They just don't enjoy the game, and that's okay. I'm not worried about it. I'm going to ask them, and like I told one of them this past year, I'm going to come back and ask you next year too. I'm not going to stop, but I'm also want them to know, I'm not going to treat you different either. I'm not going to all of a sudden be like, so all you want to do is hoop, move on. I'm going to go dap them up, hug them up. I text our varsity basketball game guys pretty much before every game, hey, good luck, fellas, go get after it. I'm going to text him just like I text our football guys that are basketball players. And so I think, again, the best chance you have of getting those kids out is building that relationship, because that kid, instead of going I don't like football, he goes, man, I really like Coach Cluley. I want to play for Coach Cluley. Okay, he's the football coach. Let me go play football, you know? But I completely agree. The metrics to get a big time basketball offer are insane. Like if you're 6'6", you better be able to handle the ball. You better be able to play point guard and shooting guard. Like at our level, you know, in East Texas here, you can be 6'6" and be a great post player. You're not going to play Division I at 6'6". You're 6 inches too short. So it's those things that, you know, because you're tall for Mount Pleasant or for Marshall or for Texas High or for Hallsville doesn't make you tall for the basketball world. And the basketball world, to me, for the metrics of it, is the hardest place to get recruited because the parameters you have to hit to be able to be recruitable. Like you can be a 5'11" wide receiver, corner, running back, you know, even a linebacker. But at 5'11" on the basketball court, you better have a 36, 37-inch vertical.
So you talk about the size difference in the East Texas area. Where are these guys in the Metroplex of the big cities finding the size to put on the football field?
Man, that's a whole topic that I'll be careful about. But I think the issues in the Metroplex, and I say issues because you hear about the recruiting, you hear about the kids transferring. You know, a kid plays 4 years at 4 different schools, and you know, like you go back to like the Bear Alexanders of the world who played at 4. You know, he was at Denton Ryan, and then at Brewer, and then at wherever he was, and like he transferred every year, and then he transferred all his years in college until the last 2 years at USC. And I think that has become rampant in DFW. We don't have those issues in East Texas because like we mostly play with the neighborhood kids. I mean, most of our kids are kids that are playing in our little leagues and coming all the way up and through. You probably run into a little bit of the switching in like a Tyler area or a Texarkana area where it's a more metropolitan area where, you know, maybe even like Longview, Marshall, where you have some kids that could bounce back and forth, but they're still neighborhood kids, you know. Where you get in the Metroplex is like you get, you know, the 6'6" kid at Dallas Pinkston is all of a sudden playing on a team that you know, won a state championship last year in whatever sports, and it's allowed, and it's just, you know, but they're choosing, or they're, you know, getting from a way bigger area than what we are. Like in Mount Pleasant, there's 16,000 people. Like that's who we're choosing from. You know, it's a bunch of blue collar people, and I'm sure like the Lufkins and the Nacogdocheses and the places around y'all's area are very similar to us. You know, you're playing with pretty much what you got. You know, every once in a while you get a move in from a place that you didn't expect, and you're like, man, this is awesome. But they like legitimately moved there. You know,
yeah,
they didn't switch apartment complexes to act like right, yeah, right. That they're moving there because mom or dad or grandpa or grandma or whoever moved there, and so it's a different animal in the Metroplex. And honestly, like they play unbelievable football in the Metroplex. It's unbelievable. But like I want no part of that. Like I want no part of that, you know, having to go through
gatekeep your kids.
Man, I can't even. I mean, it's like the portal, you know. I mean, it's you just kids are moving around and all that stuff. And again, that goes back to like what we talked about, like that's not coaches, that's parents. That's, hey, well, I should have been, as a sophomore, I should have been a starter. And it's like, dude, like you're at DeSoto or Duncanville, or like the guys in front of you are going to play at LSU in Texas. Like, what are we talking about? You know, like just bide your time. And it's just, I feel like in the Metroplex, because there's so many opportunities, that happens less and less now. Kids just want to move out and go and get, you know, on that varsity as fast as possible, whether it's basketball, baseball, football, softball, whatever it is. They're going to find that best opportunity.
No, I agree with you. Coach Cluley, before we got on the show, we had a great conversation. Got to talk. I want to ask you a question.
Yeah.
What makes you a defensive mind? I don't get it. I don't understand it. What makes you this defensive mind you are?
So what's funny is, so my dad was an offensive guy. Like that's what he's quarterback's coach. My dad still will get on a napkin and draw 11 personnel, 90 series, passing game, old school stuff, all that good stuff. And really and truly getting into coaching, I was like, I'm going to be an offensive line coach, and I'm going to be an offensive coordinator, and I'm going to be a head football coach as an offensive guy. That honestly was my goal. And so I spent a lot of time on the offensive side and with offensive coaches in my first few years, because that was like, that's what I'm going to be. And this is it's something I talk to a lot of young coaches about not pigeonholing yourself and not saying this is all I'm going to do and this is all I want to be and going that route is being open. My first opportunity, and it was at the school I was at, was to hey, if you want to be a varsity coach, I was a freshman coach for 2 years. If you want to be a varsity coach, we got our varsity D line. And I didn't have to think about it very long because I wanted to be a varsity coach, and I respected our defensive coaches. And I remember talking to our DC, who I'm still very good friends with, and just saying, like, man, I don't know that I'm ready for this. And he's like, you're not. Like, of course you're not. Like, you're not going to be ready for anything that you take on that's a promotion. And I think, honestly, and this is in a weird way, what helped me become a defensive guy was all the studying of offense that I had done, because it's like, you want to know your enemy, you want to know the other side. And so it became very simple for me to kind of switch gears and say, okay, this is all the stuff I want to do to people. How am I going to stop it? What am I going to do? Now, obviously the game has changed and, it's adapted and things have become, more wide open or more enclosed, like the single wings coming back and all that. I kick myself when we go play a team that gets in 96 different formations and we got to have all that up on a board and figure out how we're going to line up to every single formation. But I also love it. I've got a great defensive staff. They're fantastic. I got a great defensive coordinator, Jeff Litke. We've been together since 2014. But yeah, it's I really, like, I came into it thinking I'm an offensive guy, and it just kind of the switch flipped for me when I got that opportunity, and I was able to kind of run with it. And it is, the defensive side of the football has kind of got me to sit in the seat that I am now in every way, shape, and form. And so I wouldn't have it any other way.
That's great. I'll make sure to know if I ever get that chance to put a headset on that I won't put you on the schedule, you defensive mind.
That's right. Yes, sir.
Coach Cluley, what separates this team going into the 2025 season from the team last year and the teams in the past?
Yeah, so, I think the biggest thing with this year's team is just how much returning experience we have. I think off the top of my head, we're bringing back 17 or 18 starters from last year. Really and truly, the only place we really lost some like true key guys, like irreplaceable type guys, was our offensive line. And I think we're bringing back enough guys to be able to fill that void. We brought back some really good offensive linemen. But like everywhere else, we were so young. We were full of sophomores and juniors last year. And so we feel like kind of this next year or two, we have a chance to not – and we talked about it last year, like, hey, we're going to coach this team, and then we're really going to coach this team again for this season. And so it became like kind of a almost looking at it in a 2-year deal, as opposed to saying, like, well, it's this year's team and next year's team. Like, we had this team, we're going to have them for 2 years. And so we feel like they're also the group that we've had now going into year 4. They were our freshmen, our first group of freshmen. I feel like they understand – what we want, how we want it, what we do, the leadership aspects of it, all those things. The most fun part of it is that they are just a fun group of kids to coach. They really are. And they're not perfect. They're not. Like, we have problems just like everybody else. Like, somebody, Snapchatting somebody else's girlfriend, like whatever it is, like we got those same things. But like our kids really do like each other. They really do. And so I think that's such a huge part of what we do. They really do enjoy being around us coaches because they're around us all the time. And I think we have some really good leaders in this class, especially of seniors, but even our junior class has really good leaders that I think are stepping up consistently and more consistently, especially in the offseason than any group that we've had.
Well, that's great. One thing you like to have is a lot of starters returning, a lot of age, and guys that have been there and done those things.
Absolutely.
So we're heading into the weekend of coaches school. Where does it all go after this week? Like, where are we going after this week? Are we getting ready to hit the ball running for the first game? I know you have Crandall week 1. What are we looking at?
Yeah, so what we'll do is we'll go coaching school. We'll come back Monday night, and then we'll start our first big meeting Wednesday. And at that point, we're like rocking and rolling. Now, we did spring ball, so we don't have our varsity and JV guys until August 11th. Our freshmen will come August 4th. But it basically gives us 3 weeks of meetings and, mule work, which is like getting prepared for the season. We'll have our in-home coaches social at my house, all those things. But we will start preparing, and really and truly, we really started preparing kind of for some of these like the Crandalls of the world. When you play teams that second year, you have film on them, and if they're not changing a bunch of stuff like the OC and DC and all that, what they're going to be running, and so you start meeting on that a little bit at least during the spring. And start showing some things during spring ball and stuff like that. And so we've done all that. And of course we'll hammer that much more definitively going forward. And we'll start looking at like when we get done with like basically the big coaches meeting that I'll have, like our offensive defensive staff will go and meet about kind of the basics for a couple days. And then we'll switch to, okay, like, here's the things we got to take care of versus Crandall. Here's the things we didn't do last year. Here are the guys that we've heard that have moved in that might change some things. Like, what could they be doing different? What could they not? They have a new head coach. He was the DC, so we expect their defense to remain pretty similar. But do they have a new OC? Those are things we got to find out, and figure out where we go from there. And then we'll do that for every team kind of over the next 3-4 weeks. And then you'll look at what your scouting report is when you get to like week 3 and we're playing Terrell, and then look at, does that scouting report match what we are seeing based off the first 2 games in a scrimmage of film of them? And if it does, we're like, okay, now then we can use this and we know the information and all that. If it doesn't, then you scratch it and you say, okay, we got to start back over. And so, all those things come into play. It's the fun part of football and in any sport, but especially football. You spend a lot of time trying to get one up on the guys that you're going to be looking at across the field.
Well, preparation's everything.
Yes.
And one thing I can say is I don't think y'all lack that. I think y'all do a great job in Mount Pleasant getting ready to prepare. Before we talked on the show, you were already talking about we're breaking down this team already. We're breaking down this team already. You got to do those things.
Right.
And the way it's going now, you can kind of predict who you might see round 1, round 2, 100%. Round 3.
Absolutely.
So you get that jump start. So when you get in those moments, you're not behind and caught blindside.
Yes, absolutely. No, we track all the regional district teams that we could potentially play, specifically the one you'd meet in the first round. And we keep track of scores and what they're doing and, where there are injuries, where they're not. And we do what like all coaches do. You hear about like, well, I heard that so-and-so might have got hurt, and you jump on Facebook and start looking up their parents' name to see like they post that, man, he's going to be out for a week. I mean, you're doing all that the research to try and figure out, hey, who are you playing against? Because if it's the right kid, if somebody loses a quarterback, it could change an entire
season,
the whole thing.
Was that Texas? Was that Texas High a couple years ago in the playoffs?
Yes.
They lost their was it the quarterback or the receiver they lost?
I think it was their quarterback.
It was the quarterback, yeah.
Yeah. It can change everything. And so, when that happens, especially before you play them, now you got to start looking at, okay, did this kid play the third and fourth quarter? What did their offense change? Like, and you can't take it just off those 2 quarters, but you got to look back and go, okay, go to the scrimmage when he was playing with the 2s in the scrimmage. What were they running? And you start doing all those things, and just like teams are doing for us, or you see a kid twist an ankle on film, he doesn't play the rest of that game, and you're sitting there in pregame going, okay, is this dude going to suit up and play, or are we going to not have to worry about him? And so all those things come into play, and then of course it's the in-game adjustments in the game and all the technology you can use now and the analytics and all those things. It all comes into play, and how you use it and how good you are at it. And you can go into halftime now and watch film with your kids and make adjustments, and it has gotten it's a game of adjustments. That's what it is, all the time, from series to series.
And I don't think it's going to change. I mean, I don't think it's going to stay the way it is. It's going to keep changing every week.
I think we're eventually going to, which I hope this happens, the helmet intercom where you can talk to like a quarterback and an inside linebacker and make calls and talk to them. I think that's what's eventually coming, like you have in college and you have in the NFL. I hope that's what happens.
Didn't the UIL just pass something like that?
So yes, they did, but you can't do like intercom communication. You can send plays to a wristband, and they can look at a wristband and it will like show the play. It's called oh my gosh, you wouldn't ask me, I could have told you. I can't remember what it's called, but the wristband is like a digital wristband. And so you can be.
Why not just let them put a mic in and just let them talk to each other?
Dude, I'm with you on that. I really thought that's where it was going, because there's a bunch of states that have that now. I really thought that's where we were going. I think we're probably going to be there in the next couple of years.
See, my thing is, like, I might be completely wrong, but like, why would I I guess the state of Texas, UIL, all those things. Why not give my kid all the access to what he's going to be using at the next level, so he's prepared for it at the next level?
Right. Well, and also what it does too is and just like every staff, we do it. Every staff does it to us. You start looking at signals. You start hey, can I see a signal on a wide that tells me they're running outside zone or whatever, right? Well, when you get the intercom communication, it becomes it's gone. Which I would rather. I would rather it just be gone. Let's quit worrying about that and let's just play football, But it's the whole deal of people looking at signals and saying, hey, I'm getting a run pass read because the coach does this with his hand or this with his leg when it's a run or whatever. And I would rather that all be gone. And let's let these coaches, the OC, talk to their quarterback and the DC talk to his inside linebacker, his safety.
Make it easy.
Make a call and let's go.
I love that, Coach Cluley. Before we go, Coach Cluley, you got anything for me?
Yeah. So, okay, I've been thinking about this. All right. The question. I'm gonna. This is my question to you. So, I'm gonna give you a scenario, and then you tell me how you'd play it. I'm curious about this. All right. So you are playing a team that you shouldn't beat. Right. You are in the game in the fourth quarter. All right. You are. Let me say that you are up 1. Right? And you have the ball. All right? You drive in the field. Okay? So let me say this is a 2-part question. So first, you're driving the field. You are on the plus 40, right? Plus 40. All right? It's 4th and 2, right? There's, let's say, 5 minutes left in the game. All right? So there's enough time for them to go back down and score. All right? Plus 40, 4th and 2. You trying to pin them deep? Or are you going for the kill?
What's this game? What do I get out of this game?
Okay, so that's a great question. So this game puts you in the running for a potential district championship. It is not the district championship game.
I'm going for the kill.
Potential district championship. Do what?
I'm going for the kill.
I love it. Okay, so great answer. So here's the next part of this. All right. So the next part of this is this. So you then drive down and score. Bust a big play, you score, right? There's 2.5 minutes left in the game, all right? They're better than you. They have more talent than you, but you are outplaying them, right? 2.5 minutes left, right? So you are now up 7. You've scored a touchdown, you're up 7. So you have to make the decision, do I kick the extra point and go up 8, right? Which guarantees you can't lose. Or do I go for 2 and go up 9 and end the game from the 3-yard line?
So I'm going to kick the extra point, and I'm going to send this is something that I've seen happen before.
Yep.
I'm going to send my best 11. I don't care if it's my running back, my quarterback, my receiver.
Stop them.
My best 11 is going to the defense.
Yep.
And I'm going to tell them one thing. You have one job.
Yes.
Don't let them score.
Okay, let me ask you this. I'm throwing one more part in here. So let's say that score is 50 to 57 and nobody's stopping anybody. Are you making the same decision, or are you going to try and put the game out of reach?
If I'm on the offensive side of the ball,
you're the offensive side of the ball. They haven't stopped you once, but you really haven't stopped them either.
And I have to kick a field goal or go for 2.
So you kick an extra point to go up 8, or you go for 2 and go up 9, and the game's over.
Are we on the road or are we at home?
You're at home. Great question. You're at home.
Kicking the field goal.
Okay. Would it change if you were on the road?
Yes.
Yeah, I agree with you.
If I'm playing against a team that I know I'm not supposed to beat,
yeah,
and I've got my kids this far and they're this excited and they're this close to tasting that victory,
that's right.
We're going to put them out the game.
I love it.
Now, if we're at home and I'm looking in the stands and my booster club president sitting right there, my superintendent sitting right there, and all week all I've heard was, you better beat them.
Yeah, that's right.
I'm kicking the field goal.
Absolutely.
But if I'm on the road, it's on.
Yeah. Well, I tell you what, when you get into coaching, give me a call.
If that day ever comes, I will call you. But I do not see that day coming. I see what you guys put up with, and I see the guys like me that give the guys like you a hard time, from the message board to Facebook to all those things. I don't want y'all's position. One thing I will say, if I was a coach, I would not let guys like me get under my skin.
No doubt.
Because guys like me do not really matter in the football world. I have a great recliner in there, and I have a computer that I film a podcast on. that I get to talk to guys like you
Absolutely.
about football so I can feel like just this close to being a coach.
That's right.
Nothing drives me nuts more is that a coach arguing with a guy like me that has no clue what it takes to do your job, but has an opinion on your job.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
That's like you coming in my job and saying, he runs a horrible sales team.
Yeah.
Why do I care what you have to say?
Yes.
When you don't know half of what I know about my job.
Absolutely. I'm with you.
Coach Cluley, it's been a blast. Before we go, I want to give a shout out to our guys at Zilker Belts. Use discount code PINES936 for all online orders. Also, our guy, Little Malcolm, Really Having, shop reallyhaving.com. Use discount code ReallyHavingFam. 15% off all online orders. Check them out. They're great. Coach Cluley, Zilker Belts has a belt for your team. You need to go ahead and get you one. Use discount code PINES936 and make it happen. Shout out to the Mount Pleasant Tigers this year. Go have a big season. Congratulations on everything. Coach Cluley, we appreciate you coming on tonight, and thank you for everything.
Absolutely. Thank you, man. Thanks for having me.